Now on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14, we look at trends of local COVID cases and hospitalizations.
The Biden administration defends its efforts combating COVID even as the Supreme Court is debating whether or not the president's vaccine mandates are legal. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington. More on that coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Abbey. Joplin police arrest a man accused of killing his teenage daughter. Authorities say Todd Mays shot and killed his 17-year-old daughter during a disturbance at their home on Connor Avenue. Officers yesterday responded to a call about someone being shot and found the 17-year-old. She was taken to the hospital in critical condition but passed away this morning. Police arrested Mays at the scene. Authorities this afternoon charged Mays with first-degree murder and armed criminal action. Police in Arma, Kansas arrest a woman who they say stabbed a man. Officers were called out for a reported stabbing. When they arrived, they found a man with multiple stab wounds from a kitchen knife. He survived. A woman at the scene was arrested. Formal charges are pending. We're learning more tonight about this crash that happened on I-44 last night. Missouri State Highway Patrol says the crash involved 4 trucks. Started when the driver of a Freightliner rear-ended another truck, starting a chain reaction with 2 more trucks. Drivers were from Brooklyn, New York, Chicago, and Kansas City. Authorities reported moderate injuries, but everyone is expected to survive. A Jasper, Missouri man is dead after a fiery crash in Joplin. Friday, just before 5, Joplin police responded to a disturbance call at the library. No one was charged or arrested, but police say one of the people involved, David Pulsifer, drove away, eventually hitting a pole at around 20th and Rangeline. The car caught fire. Pulsifer passed away at the scene. Joplin police say they're still investigating this crash. Meteorologist Doug Ketty is joining us now. Really no complaints from me in a way, Doug?
No, pretty good Monday for us today. A little bit on the chilly side, but really close to where we should be for this time of the year. We should be topping out mid-40s. We hit 47. Cold start, 16 during the morning hours, but we have clear skies. We're going to continue to see clear skies for us during the rest of the evening into the overnight hours. We're dropping back 30 to about 35 right now. Most of us will drop 28 to 30. A little bit warmer for us tomorrow. High temp of 54. So we're going to look at the entire week and our next storm system here in just a bit.
Doug, thank you as always. Coronavirus cases and hospitalizations are on the rise in the area as the Omicron variant continues to spread. KOAM's Chris Warner spoke with some local officials about the trends they've noticed.
Since the start of the new year, the number of COVID-19 cases has increased significantly across the area, which health officials say can be attributed to the Omicron variant. In Newton County, the case increase is concerning to the Health Department Director, Larry Bergner, but isn't alarming yet, because for now, things are balancing themselves out.
Now, the good news is we've only got 170 active cases in Newton County. And that's in large part due to the number of releases.
Bergner says the majority of cases are unvaccinated, but it's not limited to them.
Now, there's certainly those outliers, people with underlying conditions that is going to be hit harder. The unvaccinated are hit harder, but overall, it seems to be pretty mild cases, which is good news for our area.
Over at Mercy in Joplin, hospitalizations are on the rise, but there's some positive news.
We are seeing a few less in critical care and less numbers on ventilators. So the good news is that the hospitalization stay seems to be a little bit shorter and less complicated.
Stokes says it's not just COVID contributing to those hospitalizations.
We're seeing a lot of the other respiratory viruses that we didn't see a year ago.
Flu and RSV are just a couple of the viruses making a return as people relax some of the COVID precautions they were taking a year ago. As for the load on the hospital itself,
every day we're admitting and discharging pretty much the same amount. So at present, we're keeping up.
I'm Chris Warner for KOAM News.
We spoke with Jasper County Health Department Director Tony Moore, who says the latest sewer shed samples taken at the end of December show the Omicron variant is present in Joplin and is beginning to show up in Carthage. American Airlines is doubling down on its requirements for unvaccinated employees. Those workers must now submit weekly health declarations, wear face masks at all times, and practice social distancing where possible. The airline had set a vaccine mandate deadline of January 4th, but legal challenges have stalled the enforcement process. A ruling could come any day now from the U.S. Supreme Court on whether or not it's legal for the president to require large employers to mandate vaccinations or testing. But it's not the only COVID-related challenge the administration is dealing with this week. Fox's Lauren Blanchard explains from D.C.
U.S. hospitalizations reach a new record high, topping more than 141,000 Americans now admitted with COVID-19. As the White House tries to slow the spread, the Supreme Court may stop the president's vaccine mandates. A decision is imminent from the justices on whether the federal government can require businesses with more than 100 employees to force vaccination or regular testing. There's criticism of Justice Sonia Sotomayor when, during oral arguments on the mandates, she overstated the number of kids hospitalized with COVID.
And we don't need the Supreme Court making decisions based on wrong facts.
Also creating a problem for the federal government, the lack of available tests, as the White House waits for their promised 500 million at-home rapid tests.
We want to ensure that there's not only that physical test, but the ability to distribute them, which is what we're working through.
Now a group of 51 U.S. representatives and senators are urging the president to take more action to get tests into Americans' hands. Quote, ensuring widespread access to free COVID-19 rapid testing is among the most effective public health tools that the federal government has at its disposal. But the current supply shortage is preventing effective utilization of this common sense mitigation strategy. The president pledged those free at-home COVID tests would be made available to Americans later this month. The White House says on Thursday the president will give an update to his pandemic response. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
KOM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time now to honor another four-state hero. Keith Sanders served in the U.S. Army. We are proud to thank and salute Private First Class Keith Sanders, native of Galena, Kansas. He's tonight's four-state hero. Doug Eddy's next with a complete look at the forecast. A bit later, multiple coaching changes in the NFL over the last 48 hours. Going to talk about how it affects Kansas City Chiefs in sports.
Well, it turned out to be an okay Monday for us today. We have plenty of sunshine across the region. Temperatures kind of cool, but we're going to warm up a bit as we go into the next couple days. Really, the entire week it looks pretty nice. Kind of boring for this time of the year. We do get a storm system in here by the weekend that could give us a little bit of rain, a little bit of snow. Overall, it's a fairly weak system. It will cool us down a bit. Of course, you can get my long-range forecast on my month-long blog. That is KOAMnewsnow.com. All right, highs today, mainly mid to upper 40s on the Missouri side. Then once you start to work a little farther west, we got into lower 50s, but everybody should go into the 50s during the daytime hours tomorrow. Kind of cool. Right now, 30 to about 35 degrees, and I think we'll drop back kind of in that 28 to 30 degree range a little bit later on tonight. 7th and range line looks good, 35. Southerly winds are light, humidity not bad at about 54%. Pretty much clear skies across the region, just a few upper level cirrus clouds, but in general, looks good. Nothing going on across the entire Central Plains. We have one little weak wave down across parts of Texas. This is going to slide to our south, will not affect us. If we go west, here's our jet stream. Way up here, southern Canada, then it drops in. So any waves have to go over the hill and then drop in, and they're fairly weak. This is the dominant part of our weather pattern that we have this year. Very strong La Nina, and that's why we get that. And we just can't get any big storm systems in here. We get a couple here and there, but in general, that's what we're going to see over about the next 2 weeks or so. For us tonight, upper 20s to near 30. We'll start to warm things up, upper 40s to near 50 by noon. And I think most of us will go into the mid 50s during the afternoon. 29 to start, 50 by noon. High temp right around 54. A little bit on the breezy side. Southerly winds start to pick up 5 to 15 as we go into the afternoon. Tomorrow night looks good, not as chilly. Mid 30s, pretty much clear skies. We'll get a few clouds in here on Wednesday. A weak little cold front's going to slide in late Wednesday into Thursday morning, but all week long. Temperatures fantastic. Most of us into the 50s each and every day. All right, by Friday, here comes our next little wave. It's not going to have much in the way of moisture, but it will give us a few showers late Friday evening into Friday night. Then it kind of passes on by and it drags in colder air by the weekend. We may end with a little bit of snow, but really besides that, not too much going on over the next several days. 54 tomorrow, 55 on Wednesday, 54 Thursday, 53 on Friday. Very consistent temperatures, and then cooling down just a bit by the time we head into the weekend.
You said it right at the beginning about the only thing with today that you could complain about was that it was a Monday.
Yeah, no, that is true.
Yeah. Mondays. Doug, thank you. New data by the European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service shows Earth's temperature continues to rise. The group, which tracks global temperature and other climate indicators, says 2021 was the 5th warmest year on record. Scientists say every decade has been warmer than the previous, and that is likely to continue. According to the report, Earth's average temperature is about 1.1 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Coming up, the latest on the investigation into another deadly apartment fire.
The Bronx coming together to mourn the lives lost in Sunday's deadly apartment fire. I'm Brian Yennis. I'll have more on that story coming up.
You aren't going to be surfing super high internet speeds at 50 American airports next week. The Federal Aviation Administration is restricting the new 5G spectrum, some of the country's busiest travel hubs. The ban lasts for at least 6 months because of potential signal interference with aircraft instruments. Experts regard the likelihood of such interference low. Still, airports like JFK, LAX, and O'Hare will enforce a 5G buffer around the property. Deaths from gun violence continue to rise in the U.S. A Centers for Disease Control and Prevention study on gun violence finds guns were used in 75% of all homicides and 91% of homicides among young people between the years 2018 and 2019. After reviewing the data, the study authors said, quote, in 2015 to 2016 and 2018 to 2019, rates of firearm homicides in large metro areas were comparable to those seen a decade earlier, 2006 to 2007, reversing a sustained downward trend. He went on to say, quote, during this period, overall, firearm suicide rates among persons ages 10 years and older have continued to increase in major metropolitan areas. New York City officials revised the death toll in yesterday's deadly apartment fire in the Bronx. At least 17 people were killed, including 8 children, and dozens more remain hospitalized. Fox News correspondent Brian Yennis has the latest on this investigation.
Grief overwhelming a Bronx community on Monday after New York City's deadliest fire in 3 decades.
I'm so sorry for the people that lost their children and their mothers, because we all are one. And for this to happen, it's horrible.
These is kids I grew up with. I'm young. These is kids like, don't make no sense. These is kids we grew up with, kids I went to school with.
Investigators say a malfunctioning space heater sparked the fire Sunday at the apartment building. The door to the apartment was left open, allowing smoke to quickly spread through the building.
When I open the door, the hallway, I cannot even see what I'm going.
New York City Fire Code requires apartment doors to be able to slam shut automatically. Mayor Eric Adams says they're looking into whether there was a maintenance issue that prevented it from closing. Firefighters found victims on every floor, most in cardiac or respiratory arrest from smoke inhalation. Residents say the building did not have a sprinkler system.
We have to ensure that the housing stock is brought into the 21st century when it comes to fire safety.
We're going to get through this moment, and we're going to get through it together. And this tragedy is not going to define us. It is going to show our resiliency as we help the families through this.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul says she plans to include a victims' compensation fund in the state budget to help fire victims find temporary housing and to cover burial costs. In the Bronx, Brian Yennis, Fox News.
Still ahead, the dad on Full House.
Fans and fellow comedians remembering the life of Bob Saget, found dead Sunday in Florida. I'm Phil Keating in Miami with more on the tributes that are just pouring in. Coming up.
The entertainment world mourning the loss of one of their own today after the unexpected death of actor and comedian Bob Saget. Fox News correspondent Phil Keating has more now from Miami.
I'm just in shock that he is not here.
America's beloved TV dad, Bob Saget, being mourned across the country and in Hollywood. Saget may have been best known for his roles on shows like Full House and America's Funniest Home Videos. but many are remembering him for his big heart.
Just 2 words, kind and hilarious. And that's what he embodied.
The Bob that I knew, it wasn't that he just wanted to make people laugh. He wanted everybody to be happy.
Saget was found dead in his hotel room at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando Sunday after police received a call about an unresponsive man. Authorities say they did not find any signs of foul play or drug use in his room. Just the night before, Saget was on stage performing stand-up as part of his recent tour. In an Instagram post Saturday night, Saget wrote of the warm reception he received from the audience, going on to say, quote, "I'm finding my new voice and loving every moment of it." Fellow actors and comedians sharing tributes to Saget. On-screen daughter Candace Cameron Bure tweeting, "I have no words. Bob was one of the best human beings I've ever known in my life. I loved him so much." Saget, only 65 years old. His friend Dave Rubin reflecting on what his legacy will be.
We don't have too many people in Hollywood these days who kind of bring everybody together, and I hope that that's what Bob's legacy will be.
Saget leaves behind 3 daughters as well as his wife, Kelly Rizzo. In Miami, Phil Keating, Fox News.
All right, next, a woman 106 years young, keeping it real, crediting her long life to Mickey D's. I love this story because, we have other stories where we talk about something health related and we interview doctors and scientists. And then there's this story. A 106-year-old woman credits her long life to her faith and Big Macs. You go, girl. Fox's Marcus Espinoza has a story from Philly.
I feel fine.
Miss Dorothy Nett here is feeling more than just fine. She's feeling 106. The South Philly raised great-grandmother of 9 and great-great-grandmother of 1 says she is looking her best on this most special of days.
You have a date tonight?
Who said you got a date today?
You.
Me?
All right. I'm dating you now.
In a city and world often filled with so much loss, the 106-year-old credits her long life to the man above.
Serving the Lord.
Serving God.
That's it.
Dorothy is so incredible that she actually has outlasted the church that she attended her whole life and would take her granddaughter to. And after they fill up their spirit with the Holy Spirit, they'd also fill up their bellies with a special treat.
Grandma always took me to church. We used to go to Friendship Baptist Church on 18th and Wharton Street. And then after church, we would sometimes go to the McDonald's. My grandma got a Big Mac because she was eating Big Macs for a long time.
Her granddaughter takes care of her now at her mother's house. Not that she needs much to be taken care of, though she admits it's been hard on her grandmother during the pandemic.
Because our family, they would come over every Friday. So until the pandemic happened, it's no longer doing that. So they just FaceTime, they miss her definitely, but nobody wants to jeopardize her.
So what does someone who is 106 years old want for their birthday? It's quite simple, actually.
Sweet living.
Sweet what? Sweet living? Sweet living? You want sweet living for your birthday?
Yeah. I want to be alive.
Good for her. 106 years young and still picking up the guys. 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming away. City of Joplin discussing contingency plans to reduce transit services. Also, growing number of couples choosing to have pets instead of children. City of Joplin is working on contingency plans. This in the event they have to reduce transit services because of staffing issues. Officials are considering 4 options. First would reduce MAPS from 6 routes a day to 3. Second option would reduce it to 4 routes a day and shorten hours. Another would reduce MAPS to 3 routes and condense the trolley system to 2 routes. And the fourth option would be to eliminate the trolley service completely and keep MAPS at 6 routes a day.
It's difficult to find employees to fill all of our open positions. We've got a lot of opportunities here at the City of Joplin, and so one of the things that we do if we're not able to meet the services or have adequate staffing, we have to make contingency plans.
The city is going to host 2 public meetings about the proposed plans on January 27th if they are not staffed by then. Building fire in Miami created so much smoke it could be seen dozens of miles away. Firefighters responded to calls about the fire at a little after 9:30 this morning and found the old Boater Float building engulfed in flames. 10 minutes after they arrived, the front wall collapsed.
When I went by the building, it was so hot. I had my windows up that I had to move over to the side. It had fire coming out all sides of it when I saw it before we ever got a call on it.
The building has been vacant for a while, but a friend of the owner says the power was turned on again last week. It's tough for the Joplin Humane Society to give all their shelter pets the necessary love and attention, and they deserve that attention, right? Well, so some area kids are stepping up to help out. The Shelter Pals program offers kids ages 6 to 15 a chance to work on their reading skills right there, as we're seeing, by reading to and socializing with pets at the shelter.
The whole thing is really fun for me, but the best part is just seeing the animals that can come up to the kids and that don't necessarily do that with the adults, because maybe they have bad experiences with adults, but the kids that are gently reading to them, they warm up to them a lot quicker than an adult just walking by.
Interested families must donate $10 to the shelter for the necessary supplies. Joplin Humane Society is located at 140 East Emperor Road. IRS is going to begin accepting 2021 individual income tax returns on January 24th. Administration officials are already warning of a, quote, frustrating season as the agency grapples with a backlog of returns from previous years. IRS commissioners saying it will do everything possible with the resources available. The tax filing season is going to end on April 18th this year for most individuals, rather than the usual deadline of April 15th, because that's when Emancipation Day is going to be observed in Washington, D.C. Legalization of marijuana is leading to more children's problems with it and for more emergency visits. Canadian medical officials say in a Journal of the American Medical Association study they've seen a 9-fold increase in emergency room visits by children increasingly exposed to recreational marijuana. Kids in Ontario province are especially being seen for edible marijuana ingesting. In the U.S., there are marketing restrictions, labeling requirements, and THC limits. THC is the active ingredient in marijuana that creates the high effect. Some common herbs you use and have in your spice racks could be key cancer fighters. That's according to researchers. Purdue University scientists say that some Mediterranean herbs like oregano and thyme could have anti-cancer properties that help suppress tumors. Researchers are partnering with Michigan State and Germany's Martin Luther University to study and amplify their compounds and create a biosynthetic pathway for use in drug development. The study is in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences Journal. Sometimes relationships can be rough and things don't always work out. But things can get especially rocky when couples file for divorce and there are pets involved. Fox News' Sal Giangrasso has more on the new legal proceedings where the welfare of pets are considered when former lovers fight over who keeps Fido. Plus, who's getting upset over the growing number of people choosing to have pets instead of kids?
For pet owners, your animal is part of the family. But what happens when that family gets divorced? Well, a growing number of countries are now considering the welfare of pets when their owners break up.
We don't have kids, and so our pets are so important.
In the U.S., a pet is typically considered property, with one spouse usually awarded custody of the animal during a divorce settlement. But over in Spain, a new law is requiring judges to view pets as something more than objects, making them take a closer look at a pet's best interests when deciding who maintains ownership.
The most important thing is the modification of the law so that they are no longer considered things, but beings with feelings.
Before the new law, officials say the person who registered the pet usually had a better chance of winning custody. But now, proponents believe when more thought is given to the animal's welfare, the pet will wind up in the best home, whether that's being shared or given to just one owner.
This will help decrease the abandonment and mistreatment of animals.
Meanwhile, it turns out the Pope is not happy with people choosing to become pet parents, recently criticizing couples who prioritize getting animals instead of having or adopting children.
Many couples don't have children because they either don't want them or they have only one because they don't want any more. But they have 2 dogs, 2 cats. This denial of fatherhood and motherhood makes us smaller, takes away our humanity.
In the same speech, the Pope says the world is experiencing a demographic winter and called for more people to consider raising children. Sal G. and Grasso, Fox News.
Right later, a win off the tennis court for Novak Djokovic. Still preparing for play in the Australian Open.
Well, it turned out to be a decent Monday for us today. A little bit on the chilly side. Temperatures only into the upper 40s for highs, but overall it's a boring weather week. It's pretty nice for everybody else, a little bit boring for me. Temperatures look great. We're going to be into the 50s each day. We do have a storm system by the weekend, could give us a little bit of rain, maybe a little bit of snow. Doesn't look like a huge deal. It will start to cool down for the weekend. Of course, you can get my long-range forecast on my month-long blog. That is KOAMnewsnow.com. All right, highs mid to upper 40s. Once you get into our western counties, we went into lower 50s for us today. It's chilly right now, 30 to about 35. We're going to drop back into the upper 20s a little bit later on tonight. Let's go outside. It's 35. It's clear skies. Dew point at 20. Humidity is at 54%. So it's cold, so you need to bundle up if you are going to be out. But clear skies, there's nothing going on behind me. Really, the entire Central Plains, nothing is going on. We have a weak little wave right across parts of Texas, which will kind of slide east, won't affect us. Let's go west. You can see these arrows. This is the jet stream. All that Arctic air that we had, it's retreated back into Canada. So the jet stream's way to the north, and then it dips down. So any storm systems are going to go over this bubble and then dip down, but mainly east of us. No big storm systems in here, so we can't yank down that cold Arctic air, which is fine, but we're also not going to get any big storm systems over the next week or so. Let's go through time during the overnight hours. Upper 20s to near 30 for an overnight low. We do warm near 50 by the noon hour. Let's go into the afternoon. Still plenty of sunshine, approaching 60 in our western counties. I think most of us are going to hang out mid 50s. 29 to start, 50 by noon, high temp at 54. Southerly winds, a little breezy at about 5 to 15. Tomorrow night looks good. We'll drop back into the mid 30s once again. On a Wednesday, we'll get some clouds in here, so partly sunny skies, but still we go into the mid 50s during the afternoon. Weak little cold front slides in by Thursday morning. Doesn't really affect our temperatures. We just get some clouds from it. So Tuesday looks good, Wednesday looks good, Thursday looks good. On Friday, here comes one of those systems. Remember, it jumps over the bubble, slides southeast. We're going to get some showers from this late Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Friday night. And as the colder air works in behind it, we may get a little brief period of light snow. Doesn't look like it's a big deal, but it does pull in some colder air by the time we head into the weekend. Besides that, pretty calm over the next few days. All right, 54 tomorrow, 55 on Wednesday, 54 on Thursday, 53 on Friday. Very consistent temperatures. That weak system, late Friday into Saturday. We do cool down for the weekend, but overall, for the middle of January, it's shaping up pretty good.
Yeah, even the low 50s sound pretty good.
Yeah, not bad at all.
No. Doug, thank you. Extreme weather is costing the U.S. billions of dollars. The NOAA reports weather disasters have cost the U.S. $750 billion over the past 5 years. The agency reported 20 weather and climate disasters in 2021 that cost the country at least $1 billion each. In fact, 2021 was the second consecutive year with 20 or more billion-dollar disasters, with a total economic total of $145 billion. All right, coming up in sports, Alabama and Georgia meeting tonight in the College Football National Championship. Also, Joplin girls open conference play with a home game against Webb City. Jacob Leonard has those highlights and more next.
Well, the Webb City girls basketball team has come on strong in the last few weeks. After a 2-5 start, the Cardinals have won 3 straight to get back to an even 5-5 on the year. Now, tonight, Webb City hits the road to Joplin, facing the Eagles in their COC conference opener. Joplin also 500, sitting at 6-6. In the first quarter, Emma Floyd elbow jumper Joplin up 1 heading to the second. Mia Robbins inbounds to Sammy Mancini. Mancini gets 8 in the first half. Then Austin Mickey, she called glass. 6-0 run to open the quarter for Webb City. Cards go to break up 2. More from Webb in the second half. Ripley Shanks inside. Cardinals extend their lead, but Joplin not going away. Ella Hafer, 3 from the top of the key here. We are all tied up again. Game actually goes to overtime. But Webb City picks up the big road win, 45-42. In the Big 8 tonight, Nevada girls on the road against East Newton. Nevada takes this one 48-39 this evening. Clara Swearingen leads the Tigers with 20 points, while Maddie Majors adds 13. Nevada is now 9-3 overall, including 2-0 in the Big 8 West. Well, tonight is the final night of the college football season. Alabama and Georgia meet tonight in Indy for the Division I National Championship game. Georgia's aiming for its first title since 1980, while Bama tries for back-to-back championships and their 7th title since 2009. They scored as many touchdowns as we have tonight. Third quarter, no touchdowns yet. All field goals. Alabama leads at 9-6. Bryce Young is thrown for 239 yards with an interception. Well, today is Black Monday in the NFL, and as always, a few teams have fired their head coaches. Just today, the Vikings have parted ways with Mike Zimmer. Matt Nagy was fired in Chicago, and Brian Flores was fired by the Dolphins. And the AFC West on Sunday, Broncos fired their head coach Vic Fangio. Fangio spent 3 seasons in Denver. The Broncos finished with a losing record in all 3, including finishing 4th in the division the last 2 years. The Broncos, by the way, haven't beaten the division rival Chiefs since 2015. Andy Reid was hired as the Chiefs head coach in 2013. In those 9 years, Kansas City's won 6 division titles, 2 AFC championships, and a Super Bowl. As for the rest of the division, we're talking about coaches, so look at this. Since Reid was hired in Kansas City, the Chargers are on their 3rd head coach. Look at that, 3 head coaches in 9 years. Not great, but look at the Raiders and Broncos. Denver has had 4 head coaches since 2013. It'll be 5 when they find a new one this offseason. The Raiders, even more than that, they've had 5 head coaches since 2013. Rich Bisaccia is interim head coach right now as the Raiders head into the playoffs, so potentially Vegas could be on their 6th different head coach if they decide to move on this offseason. All I'm saying here, appreciate Andy Reid, all right? And that's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this. We're here to...
A simple blood test could help determine if someone is more at risk for lung cancer. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology shows using a blood test and taking into account a person's smoking history could potentially identify 9% more cases for lung cancer screening. Food and Drug Administration will likely require a clinical trial before the method is approved. Young cancer survivors are twice as likely to experience psychological distress than those without a history of cancer. New research published in the Journal of Cancer shows people diagnosed with cancer between ages 15 and 39 are more likely to experience depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and PTSD. Those mental health issues are also associated with considerably higher medical expenses. Tennis star Novak Djokovic says he's still preparing to play in the Australian Open. A judge reinstated his visa today, but an Australian immigration minister plans to weigh in on whether or not he can stay in the country. Fox's Anna Eliopoulos has more.
Novak Djokovic returned to the practice court after winning a legal battle to stay in Australia for the Australian Open. The tennis star tweeting out this photo and writing, quote, "I'm pleased and grateful that the judge overturned my visa cancellation. But Australia's immigration minister holds the power and is deciding whether to revoke the athlete's visa. Still, Djokovic's family is declaring victory.
I just hope that it will stay like this. That he will be free and he will play."
In court Monday, Judge Anthony Kelly sided with Djokovic's attorneys, who argued the athlete had done all he thought he could do to comply with Australia's COVID-19 vaccine rule.
The retort from the judge was to the Sky, what more could this man have done?
Australian authorities pulled Djokovic's visa last week when he arrived in Melbourne. They determined he did not qualify for a medical exemption from a rule requiring non-citizens to be vaccinated against COVID-19. Djokovic, who is unvaccinated, apparently believed he could enter because he had recently had and recovered from the virus.
We know
he's a truthful and rightful guy, and he will never do anything to across any federal or state law anywhere in the world.
The controversy has sparked a debate over Australia's vaccination rules. On Monday, police in Melbourne tried to calm crowds of Djokovic supporters and those who believe he should not be allowed to stay in the country. The 2022 Australian Open kicks off next Monday. Anna Eliopoulos, Fox News.
Next, going to get a roundup of the entertainment coming your way this week right here on Fox 14. Competitions, dating shows, new dramas, and more. Here's a look at what's coming up this week on Fox TV with Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
New series keep making big introductions. Here's what's hot on Fox.
Not leaving anybody behind.
First Monday, the ice storm rages on over on 911 Lone Star Season 3, where the 126 is still dispersed around Austin.
I'm an FBI special agent.
Then the cleaning lady continues with the FBI asking Tony lots of questions about her new crime syndicate employer.
We gotta anchor those beams.
Tuesday is replay day with an episode from 911 Lone Star Season 2 and an encore from Season 1 of Our Kind of People.
He convinced me that he is a good singer.
Wednesday, I Can See Your Voice brings more Can They or Can't They Sing competition.
I know I can cook.
That's followed by Next Level Chef and an Infinite Possibilities Italian Dinner Challenge.
Let the game begin.
Thursday starts with the money mystery of Joe Millionaire for richer or poorer.
How did you know it was my anniversary?
Then it's back-to-back comedies, starting with Call Me Kat, where Kat celebrates her anniversary with Oscar, while Randy and Carter figure out their new relationship.
She used to be a doctor, now she's bagging groceries.
Then on Pivoting, these three BFFs explore their new life paths. Fox Sports brings in WWE Friday Night SmackDown.
Here we go!
And Sunday is a night of animated comedy led by The Simpsons. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
And that's our time for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Going to leave you with video of the Northern Lights in Finland. Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.